Alright, hello everyone and welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host and AEW enthusiast, Doug. And today's episode I'm going to be discussing Double or Nothing 2023 episode. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the action, ladies and gentlemen, starting with the AEW Women's World Championship match, Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm. So Hayter was coming into this match legitimately injured, and even the booking preceding the pay-per-view suggested that she might not even actually be able to defend her title, but she did. She showed up, albeit in a short match that protected her injured right arm and concluded with Storm benefiting from, well, a multitude of things: exposed turnbuckles, interference, and a trusty spray paint can to score the win in the title. So Storm winning the title was a great call given the circumstances, with Hayter being injured rather than Hayter dropping the title. Credit to her, she's able to come out and perform, and at least Storm can take the title from her, and also solidify Storm as a trusted member of the AEW roster. When things do not go according to plan, management, when things do not go to plan here, I don't know exactly what the plan was with Hayter, but things did not go to plan, and management had felt comfortable enough to ask Storm to carry things, and which is not the first time that's happened, and when she has been called on before, she's done well. It is a disappointing end for Hayter's reign, as she has been one of the best wrestlers in the AEW Women's Division, but she was booked in a way that made her look like a valiant performer or valiant champion who still came within seconds of retaining until interference proved her downfall. The AEW Women's Division will need some reshuffling in the coming weeks, but the Outcasts are still a quality act, and Britt Baker and Cheetah, for now, are quality opposition, although that is starting to get tiresome rather quick. TBS Championship match: Taya Valkyrie versus Jade Cargill, followed by an unexpected challenge after the match. So Cargill has been one of the few constants in AEW going into Double or Nothing. Sunday night, her run as TBS champion came to an end, but not before she was able to go 60-0. Cargill was successfully retained the title against Taya Valkyrie and did so in relatively clean fashion. Then, as he has done numerous times in the past, Smart Mark Sterling let his mouth fit Jade in this instance, get him and her in trouble as he issued a challenge on behalf of Jade. Kris Statlander would accept returning to the squared circle after a year away and proceeded to do what no one else had been able to do, and that is defeat Cargill for the title. The moment, which was a great one performing for herself and fans that waited patiently to see her back in the ring, brought an end to Cargill's title reign with an exclamation point. Now, there could be an argument to be made that Statlander defeating the champion who had just, competed in a match, maybe not the best way to book things, but it's something that has been done before. I don't know if it's been done in AEW, but it has been done elsewhere, and elsewhere, when it did happen, it tended to work out okay, so I don't really see an issue with it. Cargill is a star in the future, but this was an awesome moment for Statlander in the change for the TBS title picture, the TBS championship picture, that the women's division needed. Credit to Valkyrie here, who was great and worked well with Cargill. I'll be interested to see what happens next with Jade. I'll be interested to see what they do with Statlander next, so ultimately, I would say this was a good thing. This pay-per-view didn't have a whole lot of good things going for it, so having Statlander make a return to win a title, probably about one of the best things going for this pay-per-view right here. So, I'll be curious and create some intrigue in the women's division. And then you got the four-way match for the AEW World Championship, and MJF would successfully retain his title in a legitimate match of the year candidate for AEW, and a match that solidified why the four men involved here had been considered pillars of the company. You had Easter eggs, high spots, pro wrestling psychology, storyline callbacks, and a brilliant finish that came together to create one of the best matches in company history. Guevara, credit to him, he gave a great performance here, and sometimes he does get criticized for his ring style, but everything he did here was on point with some low-key additions to his work that suggested that he was not only aware of the enormity of the match, but also suggested that perhaps maybe he's not going to be as spot happy as before. I wouldn't expect a complete shift, but maybe there's going to be some changes made to his performance. But ultimately, it was MJF who continued to assert his greatness with a performance that was excellence personified. He used the sort of pro wrestling psychology not often used enough in today's wrestling landscape, and put an exclamation point on things by sliding the world title in the way of Allen's coffin drop, and then pinning him with the same headlock takeover that he pinned him with at Full Gear in 2021. At a time when the AEW product is uneven, creatively disorganized, and ever-changing, for better or for worse, AEW is consistently excellent, so at the very least, they got that one going for him. It'll be quite interesting to see who they book to challenge MJF next, because you just threw out 3 of the top young challengers for his title. So who's next? Who challenges MJF next for the title? I'll be very curious to see what happens there. So AEW, well, this was an unofficial 4th birthday for the company with Double or Nothing 2023, and it is more apparent than ever that not only should AEW consider moving Double or Nothing out of Vegas, that crowd, not exactly the most lively crowd, but then again, that's kind of what you get. But ultimately, I think AEW might want to consider moving out just because, yeah, that crowd, not very lively, and I think ultimately, you run the risk of a pay-per-view becoming stale when you just run it at the same place over and over again. You gotta move around with the pay-per-views. But yeah, not only is it apparent that AEW should move Double or Nothing out of Las Vegas, but it also appears that the company that exists today is no longer resembles what it did back in 2019. At that time, it was seen as a group of revolutionaries and promising young talent that took to the Las Vegas Strip for a show that would change the pro wrestling landscape and be the first true alternative in professional wrestling since the height of WCW. And there are still bits and pieces left over, which was on full display in the AEW World Championship 4-way match, and the women's division is certainly in a healthier state than it ever has been, despite an unfortunate injury to Jamie Hayter. But it is otherwise a promotion that appears to have scrapped its vision for excess. The main event reflected as much when it did not have to excess at thumbtacks. We don't need thumbtacks in professional wrestling. You want to be a true change in the professional wrestling business, throw away the thumbtacks. Don't ever bring them back. And the undercard for their show passed on story and emotion for gimmicks that just did not generate engagement that was perhaps would have been expected at one of the premier events of the year for AEW. Now, there were still some things to like about this show, in particular the young stars hovering around the top of the card, the raw athleticism that some of them possess, and an aforementioned women's division that has momentum on its side and a new champion in Toni Storm. Until those in power stop leading on excessive gimmicks like ladder matches, battle royals, like ladder matches and battle royals and blood, as I skipped ahead of my notes. So until those, I'm just going to reread the line. Until those in power stop leading on excessive gimmicks and understand that ladder matches, battle royals, and, blood, and also excessive violence in the form of screwdrivers, thumbtacks, leaf blowers, that those things really only work in moderation. The best parts of the company continue to be overshadowed by the confusing nature of everything else, like that unsanctioned match between Jericho and Cole. I'm still not quite. I'll give credit to Taz for trying his best to explain why the referee stopped the match, but it doesn't feel like the referee setup it should be the reason why an unsanctioned match ends in the first place. Also, Sabu, his cameo appearance was entirely unnecessary, and probably about the most confusing thing of the entire pay-per-view. So Double or Nothing 2023 had a solid card going for it on paper, but failed to live up to it as a whole, ranking among the lesser of AEW pay-per-views. Hopefully Tony Khan and his team have it brought to their attention by the fans of what worked for the show, understanding what did not work and why, and making the changes necessary to thrive in what will be a pretty huge summer for AEW coming up. They got Forbidden Door, which is not in the same location that it was last year. It's in Canada, so maybe maybe the crowd will be better there. No disrespect to the Vegas crowd, but ultimately, again, you got a blue pay-per-views around. You got All In, which has been at Chicago. I don't know if they're still going to keep it there. I hope not. I hope they try somewhere different. No disrespect to the Chicago crowd. They are a solid crowd, but again, you got to move these things around. And then you got All Out, which is over in England, and that international crowd they're always showing up, and they're always showing out, and they're always very loud. So I guess we'll see what AEW is able to put together creatively for the next next pay-per-view, that being Forbidden Door. They're collaborating with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Last year, I would say, was a success, and I have no reason to think that this year wouldn't be. I guess we'll see. Double or Nothing, it wasn't a miss, but it wasn't a hit. It was more just like meh. And with that, we'll go and wrap up this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.